College football's Week 8 shook up the NFL draft, and wide receiver Chris Bell is skyrocketing up those 2026 NFL draft boards.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. If you are an everydayer, you know what Monday means. It's the recap. Week 8 college football, 2026 NFL draft recap. Moneymakers stock up, bag fumblers stock down, and then Coach K, Coach DP walk into the locker room and hand out the game balls for those prospects that really balled out in Week 8. But before that, today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Money makers, keep those guys who raise their stocks.
No hiding from the tape. It's time for money makers and bag fumblers.
Friday night, Miami versus Louisville. Our boy, Chris Bell. Keith, he continues to just ball out this season. He continues to ball out, and now you're starting to get more and more people paying attention to what Chris Bell is doing over at Louisville. Louisville knocking off Miami, knocking them off. I think this game was on the road. I think it was in Miami. Yes, it was in Miami.
Yeah.
Beat them by 3. 9 catches, 136 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. He's listed at 6'2", 220 pounds. And I'll tell you right now, as I'm watching him play, it reminds me a lot of Anquan Boldin. I see a lot of Anquan in him, that big physical frame. Anquan was listed at 6'1", 220. So roughly around the same height, weight, body type, but it was the physicality after the catch. It was the ability to make plays down the field, adjust to the ball and the flight and the trajectory to it. But it's the yards after the catch, man. Like, I think he had like a touchdown or 2 where he had multiple plays where he caught like a crosser and just he couldn't be stopped. He didn't want to go down, right? And it's like he's like that glue guy, because he doesn't mind working where the linebackers live. That's a lost art with receivers nowadays. A lot of these guys don't want to work the middle because it's like, man, it's a lot of traffic in there, things like that. Like, you see him sit, that not just run a crosser like a shallow cross. He sits down in the void, knowing that there are bodies around him, confidently catch the ball, make collision catches, bounce off of tackles, and they get yards after the catch. And I think his first touchdown was a crosser, and then the speed and athleticism and the acceleration after the catch. He is a fast riser right now because he is consistently putting up big-time numbers. And to do that against a team and a defense that has been balling all season in Miami, yeah, his stock is up, man.
Yeah, DP, and it's good to see it because he's one of those guys that we, kind of brought to the Locked On family early, right? One of those, guys who was like, hey, pay attention to this young man from Louisville, and to see him turn the corner and you can see the buzz is rising. DP, it was one of those things where I was about to try to beat you to the punch because I had a feeling you were going to go there. You kind of took my guy for money makers. I was going to go with Chris Bell also, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to go with Jacoby Lane, and it was a losing effort. They lost to Notre Dame. I think the score was 34-24, I believe. But Jacoby, for the second time this season, cracked over 100 yards, right? He had a few catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. And I look at this situation for Jacoby, right? He was injured for a couple games. I think he was injured for 2 weeks, maybe. And then he's trying to build momentum, right? Like trying to get everything started, especially coming into the season where he was one of the hottest names as far as, could be wide receiver 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then the injury plus the slow starts. I know he had a couple games where he was kind of the 4 catch, 45 yards type of situation. And USC quarterback Jaden Mayava seems to have had a better connection with wide receiver Makai Lemon. So I'm looking at Jacoby Lane, and I'm saying that, listen, 6'4", 200 plus pounds. Can you elevate your name too? And then, because I think the conversation when we strip it all down and we get into draft season, and it's not so much about team success and it's about the individual prospects. Cornell Tate is widely regarded at this point now, and I mean, and that's just how it will go, right? You're the best. Well, the best draft eligible wide receiver on Ohio State's team, then you're probably going to be in the first or second round, right? Like that's almost. Yep. And so I look at Cornell Tate and saying that he's probably etched in stone as potentially a top 50 pick. And then when you compare him side by side, when you talk about the height, the movement skills, the explosiveness, things like that, the hands, does Jacoby Lane match right up with it, right? Or because I kind of view them as very similar profiles, type wide receivers. So Jacoby, I feel as though just needs the production and the numbers, and I think the conversation will be had about him. So I think he had a good outing. I think it was his second 100-yard receiving game of the season. So just keep stacking them in. I don't know, because that loss to Notre Dame was tough because they now have an Illinois loss, a Notre Dame loss, and I think one more. So they may have 3 losses, which it's gonna be tough for them to, talking about Big Ten championship, you're talking about getting into the playoffs. It then be probably right on the fringe of it. But so he may have 5-ish more games left. See if he could try to crack that 1,000-yard mark for the season.
Yeah, so USC, that was their second loss of the season. So they're 5-2. Yeah, only the
second.
So
they were undefeated going into the Illinois. Okay, I thought they had one more loss before the Illinois game. So I mean, they still have a shot then, especially in the Big Ten, where I mean it's Ohio State and then who knows, right?
Right, no, for real. Because I mean, they beat Michigan at home. And everything like that. They'll get Nebraska. They have a game against Oregon. You know what I mean? Oregon's number 8 ranked 8 team right now.
That might be for the Big Ten slot right there, the Oregon game.
You got Oregon, and they finish it with a hot UCLA team that is rattle off 3 straight wins, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not out of the Big Ten championship yet, but Jacoby Lane definitely was needed in that game because I'll talk about Makai Lemon. Unfortunately, in the next topic, in the bag fumbles a little bit, but with what they did to Makai, like Jaden Mayava needed Jacoby Lane to step up, and Jacoby Lane did that. He's one of my guys coming into the season. He battled some injuries early, but man, seeing him healthy was good for Minnesota. Darius Taylor, the running back out of Minnesota, man, coming off a game 20 against Nebraska, 24 carries, 47 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He averaged over 5 to 6 yards per attempt. He's listed at 6 foot 215. This is a good running back in the Big Ten. He just missed a couple games due to an injury. He played weeks 1 and 2, and he missed I think 3, 4, and 5. So he missed like the 3 straight games and everything. And he had a hard start against Buffalo, and then like the next 2 games that he played, or the next game he played, I think that's when he got hurt, was week 2. And everything, they brought him back against Ohio State, but that was a game that was out of reach. And he finally got the full workload back, 20 plus carries. This dude, listen, he's got the size, the strength, the vision, the patience. I like his speed and open field. I think like he's functional catching the football, but he's one of those guys that can run through arm tackles, run between the tackles, but he's got the lateral change ability to just plant and cut and get to the void in the defensive front. I just hope that he can stay healthy during the rest of the stretch, because we're gonna have a conversation about this running back class, because I'm starting to get a little worried. This running back class isn't what I thought it was going to be, so I'm starting to get a little bit worried. Outside of Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, I think Justice Haynes was hurt this past week, so he didn't play for Michigan. But yeah, it's a lot of smoke right now, and I don't know when that's going to settle. So I need somebody like Darius Taylor to continue to ball out, Keith.
100%. Our guy Jonah Coleman over there in Washington, right? We need we had 25 running backs drafted, I believe, and I think
that's why I said a lot of those dudes should have stayed in school, Keith. Like a lot of those dudes would have got drafted second round this year.
Yeah.
They went 5th and 6th. And I'm like, what are we doing, man?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we're looking at Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, right? I think he was the last running back taken, and they were able to offload running backs, the Washington Commanders, to be able to have him, and he's the starter, right? And he's being very productive. So just goes to show you, and kind of comparing draft class where we stand. And that's why I always say, man, don't force it. Let the classes come to you, because if you try to force in another 25 running backs, you're gonna be in trouble, right? You're going to be in trouble. But DP, let's do this, man. We always talk about it, man. What goes up must come down. We talked about the guys that made themselves some money, but they had to take somebody's spot, right? So which guys fell down the draft boards a little bit for us? We're going to have that conversation coming up next.
if you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised you to make work easier. But now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, and IT with finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun and simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Bijan Robinson rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. And I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in less than 60 seconds. Guys, I mean under a minute. Also, a favorite part of mine, Prize Picks, just added stacks. So if I wanted to ride with a player, I can select their passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. Now go download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks is good to be right. What goes up must come down.
No hiding from the tape. It's time for moneymakers and bag fumblers.
Those bag fumblers, Keith, I go right to, we talked about Jacoby Lane. It was Makai Lemon for me. And I know some people be like, he had like 70 yards in the game and everything like that. I'm like, yeah, if you scout in the box score, you would think he was all right. If you watch that game, Leonard Moore, who is arguably the best defensive back, best corner in college football for Notre Dame, I wasn't sure if he could, because he mostly plays on the outside. And Notre Dame plays a lot of man coverage. They'll press you, all that stuff. I wasn't sure if he's going to play in the slot because that's what Makai Lemon makes his money. Oh, no, he went down into the slot and he had him on lockdown, Keith. He got, I think, Makai beat him on the inside, like a crossing route, like maybe third quarter or something like that. Second, third quarter, and that was it. I don't think he had another catch on Leonard Moore. He like the way Leonard Moore, and this is what I wanted to see though from Makai, and I love Makai's game. I think he's that he fits the slot role and that movement zero in the NFL to a T. Mm-hmm. But the issue, and he's really good against zone coverage, off man, and he's really good after the catch. That's where he really hurts your defense. But I wanted to see him against press because he hadn't been pressed really all season. I was like, well, Notre Dame got the corners and they got size and length and athleticism. Can you counter that? He really didn't have an answer for it. He kept trying to run whip routes. It was all just Leonard Moore was in his hip pocket all game. Like he's the one that usually gets 12 targets. I think Jacoby Lane got 11 to 12 targets in this game. Right. So for me, it was just like The one thing the one question mark I had about you, what was your release package? What are you going to do when these athletic, longer, toolsy corners can get up to the line of scrimmage, mirror and match you, and play sticky coverage? How are you going to handle it? He didn't handle it well. I want to see him bounce back from that. I don't know how many. Now, again, you got the best corner on the team and one of the best corners in college football, pretty much all game. But going forward, that's something I need to see improve. Is that ability to win against man coverage, because that's going to limit you on key downs on the outside, where it's like, okay, do we have to give you a two-way go in the slot, or can we play you as an outside receiver 80% of the time in the NFL? I think against what we saw Saturday night with Leonard Moore covering them, it makes that question a little bit more murky than it was prior to.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And to me, that game played into the, because we break down evaluations, and I know Bleacher Report may be a little bit different, right? But ultimately, the scouting reports come down, what do players do good and what do you have concerns about, right? And I think the past few weeks, we've seen what he does good. And I think the concerns part showed up in this game, right? And that was what is your length, your overall explosiveness to really separate it. And explosiveness compared to the Zachariah Branches, the Eric Singletons, right? These guys that are top tier, the Deion Burks that are like elite level athletes that you see the explosiveness jump off the screen to you. Makai Lemon, I felt as though he was more of a he's going to win with IQ and nuance, right? And also the fact that he was really tough and gritty too. Like I like that about him also. So I think this game was just more of him playing to the evaluation. I know that there have been conversations. I've seen it on, different networks and things like, Makai Lemon, first round player. I just wasn't that aggressive in my evaluation and report of him. And I think the Notre Dame game was kind of a reflection.
I have a second round grade on myself personally.
Yeah, I'm somewhere around a high third. I think I have a late second, a high third round grade on him. So we fall in the same ballpark with that conversation. DP, I have two quarterbacks. I'm gonna get the first one out the way. Carson Beck, right? 4 interceptions. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? 4 interceptions, everybody watching. And man, it was just tough because how we said we don't know what Carson Beck we're going to get. Remember that? We was like, are we going to get 2023 Georgia Carson Beck, or are we going to get 2023 Georgia quarterback, which was late first round pick, right? 2024 Georgia quarterback, which was
a third,
fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh, right? Could have been in
the game you watched.
Depending on the game you watched. This season is so interesting is because you're getting both, right? We're getting some first round conversation and some fourth, fifth round conversation all mixed in one season. So the question at the end of that game, DP, was laying down, and because we do this, right? Like it doesn't stop, right? So even when you go to sleep, you're kind of thinking scouting a little bit, right? And one of my final thoughts before I went to sleep Friday night was can Carson Beck stop having turnovers? That was one of my final thoughts, DP. And I was like, I am not sure, right? And then I woke up the next morning and still had the same question. So that's where I stand: is can Carson Beck stop having turnovers? And I think a team's ability to feel as though they can coach it out of him is going to affect his draft stock. It's going to have to be a team that's going to believe that he can play this and we can mitigate the draft stock. Mitigate the turnovers, because he has plenty enough arm talent. He has plenty enough experience. He can make all the throws, right? You've seen it on tape. It's just like when things get snowballing, it goes downhill fast. The other quarterback I want to talk about real quick, DP, John Mateer of Oklahoma. And Oklahoma won the game. They beat South Carolina. I believe the score was 26-7, but more so an overarching conversation, and I know we'll jump into it tomorrow too because we have the quarterback conversation. But real quick, just looking at the season, DP, he's 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And this is a young man that started off hot, right? Like you're talking about that. It was a month ago. If you look at September, this is October 20th. If you look at September 20th, he was a Heisman favorite, right? And I'm not sure if he's right after this injury, but just watching him in what we expected as far as the takeover type of situation is not that. Like even with Oklahoma, it was the running backs that kind of took over the game and kind of established like, okay, this is going to be, it's going to be a ground and pound running the ball. So I'll be interested to see / hear the conversation about the injury to his hand. Is he 100% healthy? And then the tape evaluation. So I think he's kind of losing himself a couple of dollars when we're talking about bag fumblers, because there was a lot of first round, top 10 pick. There was some of that conversation from people.
Keith, remember with the Commanders, RG3's rookie season. Yeah. He had that knee injury and then he rushed himself back. Like, granted, the knee, of course, is a little different than the hand. And then that injury and rushing himself back, ultimately he re-injured it again in the playoffs, I think against Seattle and stuff like that. And he was never the same after that. I don't expect that to be the case for John Mateer, but the point is, don't rush yourself back. Like, and I said that, I think I said it on Friday's show. I felt like he rushed himself back for that Red River rivalry. Texas's offense is not some high-powered machine that you had to rush yourself back for.
I mean, and they showed it this week, right? They showed
against Kentucky, like, which is I'll go into my other bag fumbling in a minute. But yeah, for me personally, Keith, I feel like he should have waited 2 games. Like, wait 2 more weeks. Make sure that hand was good to where you could, because just your throwing hand, you got to make sure you can grip the ball, you can spin it, you got control of it. And not only that, it's the same thing when guys tear their ACL. Are you comfortable doing the normal things you did? The cutting, the change of directions, and Keith, you tore ACL. Like, what that's like. Like, just the mental. It's not even the physical hurdles always.
It's the mental believing.
It's the mental hurdle. Yep. So I think it's the same thing with John Mateer and throwing the football. So I'm with you. I think that he really hurt himself, and it just no pun intended. Like, he hurt himself money wise by not just giving himself an extra couple weeks and trusting the backup, trusting that defense, that the only defense that was playing better than them was Ohio State. I would have trusted Brent Venables in that defense before I rushed myself back. But I'm going to go right to that Kentucky-Texas game. Quintravion Wisner, Keith, like, this was a running back who had a good season last year for Texas, right? He had a good season for Texas last year. And now, because it was him and Jaden Blue or whatever, Jaden's with the Cowboys now. Against Kentucky, Texas won this game 16-13. Wow, what a barn burner. But like, you expected Texas to run away with this game, and you wanted to see them be able to run the ball, give Arch Manning a play action, an RPO game. Quintravion Wisner was 12 of 37. He averaged 3 yards per attempt. He averaged 1.5 yards after contact per attempt. Like, so he's really not getting any yards after contact in this game. And this is a running back that's listed at 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. I feel like he's not been impressive at all to me this year. He's actually been a disappointment. He hasn't rushed for over 100 yards yet. The Oklahoma game was his best game. And I'm like, well, do you have that best game if John Mateer is healthy and putting up points? I don't know. But the point is, Quintravion Wisner has definitely fumbled the bag so far this season. And it doesn't look really good for him right now, man.
No, man. And I think with Texas rushing offense conversation, period, right? Like, it needs to be a conversation. It's like, who is going to take over that backfield? Because I think much like, we collectively thought that a lot of people thought that, Wisner's going to step in and be a pretty good back and probably speaks to the overarching issues with Texas. If the quarterback is having an issue with pass protection and the running back is having an issue, is there a offensive line conversation that needs to be had about Texas, right? So we'll see how that goes. But DP, let's keep this thing going and flowing, man. And coming up next, get your hat, get your whistle. Coach DP, Coach K are making a appearance, right? We're jumping into the locker room and we're passing out game balls for the most productive draft prospects. We're gonna have that conversation coming up next.
Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every single ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every single model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. From the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery, you can make everyday drives feel like anything you want. But from smooth handling to intuitive controls with all-wheel drive standard in every single crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So, like our players, we sweat every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is in full swing, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's right, you heard me correctly. Pick a bet, put down $5, just $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use freely across the app. To be able to use it on all things like player props, building your same game parlay, or even jumping into the live game action as it unfolds. So my question to you is simple. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com right now to download the FanDuel app today and get started. My question is simple. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com right now to download the FanDuel app today to get started. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. It's time to give out the game balls.
I'm calling game.
Keith, I go to Notre Dame, and the guy who entered the season is RB1 for me, Jeremiah Love. I actually have 2 game balls, but I'm starting with him, Keith. Jeremiah Love against USC, 24 carries, 228 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown, and he just continues to have just a really good season. This season, he's been able to showcase his full skill set, whether it's lining up in the slot, running routes, and being a weapon in the passing game, running routes out of the backfield on mesh rail and different things like that. Or say, you know what, we want a bell cow, run the ball with you, 15, 20 plus carries, and watch you kind of really set the tone for the offense. And this is a game where CJ Carr didn't play particularly well at quarterback. I think he had like that very, very bad decision in the red zone where he's just running. He did the same thing against Miami in week 1, but he actually threw a touchdown. This time he runs around, he reverses field like twice. Then he throws an interception right to one of the USC defenders. And I'm like, you just took points off the board. Whether it was 3 points or 7 points, 2 points off the board, CJ. And I appreciate Marcus Freeman because we criticized Notre Dame after week 1 and said he's your best player. How does he not get the ball against a team like Miami? How do you put the weight of the team on the shoulders of a first year, not even just a first year starter, a first time starter in his first start in CJ Carr? Ever since they've been making sure to feed him in both the running game and passing game, I give one of my game balls to Jeremiah Love. Man, he had an outstanding game, and without him, they don't win that game against USC.
Yeah, and I'll say this, DP. I appreciate the fact that Marcus Freeman and the rest of their coaching staff did decide to give him the football, because if not for that, this running back conversation would be even
worse,
cloudier. Yeah. we would be in an even more complex situation. And honestly, it was one of the most head-scratching things to start the season, when we was like, wait, that guy's really good. I think you should give him the football and see what happens. And they're deciding to do it, and guess what? They're winning, right? They started off
5 straight.
0-2, and then now they've won 5 straight and beaten good opponents, and then the opponents that are not so good, they've beaten them pretty bad, right? Like they did what they're supposed to do. So I'm right on par with that. DP, man, when we talked Friday and we talked about statement makers, right? I brought up this Alabama defense. And I want to then turn around and give them their credit. So I'm hopping the game ball, and listen, I may have to cut this game ball into 20 different pieces, right, for every defender that played for Alabama. And it's because that game ended 37-20. And I think if you'd have asked the majority of people, a Tennessee offense will get held to 20 points. And I want to say, if statistics, and DP, statistics is not my strong suit, but I think entering that game, I think they were the leader in FBS in points. I think somewhere around 48, 49 points per game, right?
Yeah, they were up there.
Yeah, I may have came across that stat somewhere. And to leave that game with 20 points scored, you have to give credit to the Alabama
Yeah,
defense.
man.
It was one of the most impressive Alabama defensive performances that we've seen. I don't want to be dramatic and say years, but I almost want to be that dramatic because it's been a while since we've seen, and it wasn't a high turnover game, right? They just stopped.
They just locked up. Yeah, they just locked up.
They clamped on the back end. I mean, and you've seen the game, and I'll say this: the game-changing play, which was deflating, which they showed, right? The offensive staff in the booth, right upstairs, was the pick six. Was the pick six? You were on the brink of scoring. You at the very worst, you're leaving out of there with a chip shot field goal, right? But you probably have opportunity to score a touchdown, and it goes 98 yards the other way, and you're just sitting there like, I can't believe this. And I felt like from that moment, and Tennessee fought back, right? But I think every time they punched, Alabama counterpunched and kept it at a 7 to 10 point lead. And Alabama closed it out. So I have to give credit to their defense. They played their butts off. They played hard. They were disciplined, especially for a complex Tennessee offense like that. And we've seen how complex this offense is. I mean, they took Georgia and scored was that 21, 24 points in the first quarter.
Man.
Scored 80. So I have to give a lot of credit to Alabama defense.
Yeah, no, this the way this defense is starting to play, you got Jan Miller back running the football hard. He looks like the Alabama running backs, right? Yeah, this Alabama team looks scary right now, Keith. They look scary. And if I'm one of these other teams, you think about, hey man, we might get that matchup in the SEC championship game. Just know it's going to be a 4-quarter game. This is not going to be a situation. Florida State had their Super Bowl week 1, and they have not been good ever since. You know,
nope.
So, this Alabama team is peaking at the right moment and at the right time. And this defense is going to be that's the final stone for Thanos if you're killing the board. This defense playing, if you could hold opponents to 20 to 17 points or 14 points with the offense you have, Ryan Williams is catching the football again.
Right.
That's a problem. That's a problem. So Keith, I'm gonna close this thing out, man. I'm gonna go to my top wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, against Texas Tech. Yeah. He got hurt early in that game with like a hamstring injury, and he left the game for a little bit, came back in, and on the final drive, they're down 3. I was like, okay, they're just gonna play for the field goal. Sam Levitt breaks out. I think it might have been 4th down. The game was on line like 4th and 2. He scrambles out, and I think Tyson ran the out route. He was open early, but of course Sam Levitt's, he got pressured, so he bailed out, got out of there. You see Jordan Tyson, work up the field, and he throws it to him, gets the yards after catch, gets another quick out route, and I'm like, they're not playing for the field goal anymore. They're going for the score. He finished the game with 10 catches, 105 yards, and the receiving touchdown. And Keith, for me, what it showcased is not just the toughness, the mental fortitude, all that type of stuff, but then, like, it would have been the game-winning touchdown. The DB panicked and held him because he got beat at the top of the route.
Yeah, well,
the head fake, and I was like, yikes. Like, yeah.
And they got to throw the flag.
It was over.
Yeah, and they didn't throw the flag either. The refs got to throw the flag. They got.
Yeah, I was like, so they got the ball. They ended up running. I think they ran in one of the running backs, and they killed the game. The game was over. You know what I mean? Well, Texas Tech got the ball back, and then they tried to get down there to throw a Hail Mary and everything, or whatever the case may be. But Jordan Tyson coming up big in that game when they needed him to, and you're not even 100% healthy. You know what I mean? Yeah. A hamstring is nothing to play with. We see guys leave the game and never return for weeks. He went right back in when he could, and he toughed it out. Even on that same catch and run, he catches the ball, and you see him just kind of – I was like, he's not healthy, bro. Like, you could – because a healthy Jordan Tyson, he had that much space. That's a walk-in game-winning touchdown. Yeah, instead, you could tell he couldn't run.
Yeah, he had that Stephon Diggs speed against the Buffalo Bills, right? Where it looked a little hampered a little bit.
It was that it was the old school, like that, like one of the early versions of Madden, where it's like that clip that always resurfaces in football season. Greg Jennings is on the game, they throw a touchdown to him, and he's running the whole time, grabbing his hamstring on the game, but he scores. It was like, how do you score from 60 yards like with a best of hamstring? Yeah, that's what he looked like trying to run the ball.
To reflect back on that for Madden, that was a wild feature.
It was.
That was a crazy feature. Because
I said bring it back. I said bring it back.
Yeah.
I said bring it back. You know what I mean?
Well, DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. You get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's episode, like Keith said earlier in the show, it's time to talk about the quarterbacks. We give the quarterbacks their own entire show. We're going to talk about the QBs of the week, those stock rising quarterbacks from week 8, and those stock falling quarterbacks from week 8, all on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.